On today's episode, I want to break down and react to Mel Kiper's mock draft, the godfather of mock drafts, if you will. I know right now you can kind of be at times a punching bag as everyone all of a sudden has become a mock draft expert with, the phones we have and the capabilities of all these mock draft simulators. But Kyper was the first, so don't, poo-poo on him too much. But I do like to look at these mock draft experts and gurus and just give you a reference as to how accurate they can be so no one gets too attached, okay? What I did was I looked back at Kyper's last 4 years of mock drafts for his January edition, and I wanted to see how accurate he was. Last year was very impressive. He went 4 for 5. He nailed the first 4 picks. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison. In 2023, not as good. He got one mock draft selection correct. It was the first one, but I can't remember what it was. But anyway, I gave him half of one because he had Will Anderson going 3rd overall just to the Cardinals. He ended up going 3rd overall to he had CJ Stroud going and then Will Anderson. But he got the 3rd overall one. Right player, just wrong team, but he couldn't have known that the Texans were going to do a draft trade. But 2022, that was when he had Aiden Hutchinson going 1st overall. Trayvon Walker was not even in the top 10 at all. So 2021, he got 1 out of 5 correct. So just goes to show that it's a crapshoot even this far out. And this year's draft is not as predictable, I would say, as last year's, when everyone kind of knew Caleb 1, Jaden or Drake May 2, and then the other 3, and then Marvin Harrison probably to the Cardinals. So here it is. Let's take a look at Kyper's mock draft. Starting with, he's got Cam Ward going 1st overall to the Tennessee Titans, and then with the 2nd overall pick, he has the Browns selecting Travis Hunter, corner/wide receiver out of Colorado. So before we look at the rest of the mock draft, let's get to know Travis Hunter. First, I just want you guys to know him as a prospect, and then I want you to make your own opinion before I try and persuade you or anyone else does for that matter. He's 6'1", 185 pounds. Pretty solid size for a corner wide receiver. Maybe some teams would like him to be a little bit bigger, but this is not a concern in my opinion. Now, we all know how versatile he is. He played nearly 1,500 snaps. What's crazy about the amount of usage he had is people are going to look at that and they're going to forget, too, about all the snaps where it doesn't get logged. Meaning, he's playing wide receiver, he runs down the field, but there's a holding call, and it wipes away his 30-yard grab. I don't care about the yards being lost, but the actual energy he exerted is never accounted for, but he played that snap, but it doesn't go down as a snap. So it's way bigger than 1,400 snaps, and that led him to winning the Heisman Trophy. Now, this is what Mel Kiper had to say. I think Cleveland is more likely to address another hole here and find quarterback reinforcements in free agency and or later in the draft. Trading back for more picks with another QB-needy team could be part of the equation too. This is my preferred approach, the trade back option. Now, it's very easy for you and I to say, trade back, trade out, trade the pick. You got to find someone to trade with, right? You can find anyone to trade with, but you got to get a good trade value, good trade in return. And there may not be a team willing to give up a future first-round pick for the 2nd overall pick in this draft if they don't think Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter, 2 out of those 3 guys are going to be there for sure at number 2, is worth this year's first-round draft pick and next year's first-round draft pick, probably a little bit more as well. So as fun as it might be to, fantasize trading back and adding more draft picks, you can look at the Browns' 2025 draft capital, adding a future first, but along with maybe a 2nd or a 3rd or a 4th. I mean, hopefully no more 6. They're not going to actually pick 5 times in round 6. They're going to trade those picks out, but they've got 12 picks right now, so it would not be the worst thing in the world to add some more picks for the future if you trade back, and that way you can really get fully reloaded with back-to-back drafts with a lot of picks to make up for 3 years of no first-round draft picks and not feel like you set yourself back 3, 4, 5 years from the Deshaun Watson trade. So let me ask you this question. Do you want to trade back? We'll talk more about Travis Hunter. Don't worry, I'm not going to get off that subject. But when it comes to trades, as Kyper suggested, is that something you're interested in? For me, the answer is yes. If you can get the Raiders to trade you their future first-round pick and you fall back from 2 to 6, You go into next year rooting against the Raiders, just like how the Bears were rooting against the Panthers, and the Panthers gifted Chicago the first overall pick. And I think the Raiders are going to stink out loud this year. They don't have a quarterback. I don't think Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders is going to keep them out of picking first overall again next year. Bryce Young couldn't do it for the Panthers. And Bryce Young was head and shoulders a better prospect than Ward and Sanders are coming into this year. So ultimately, you get maybe a first overall pick, second or third overall pick the next draft. And at 6, you can get a very good player like Will Johnson or Mason Graham or maybe even Ashton Genty. Like, we can have that conversation later. But I had 100% trade back if it resulted in a future first rounder coming to you. Before we get on to the rest of today's episode, I do have to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players. Basketball season is heating up, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. They put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Where were we? Travis Hunter. Let's talk about him a little bit as a prospect, because I do want people to come up with their own opinions on these prospects. If you don't have the time or the energy to look into this stuff on your own, like, that's my job. That's what I'm here for. That's why I love my job. But I do love the draft, and I can't say one player is going to be great with absolute certainty. Like the godfather of mock drafts, Mel Kiper, he said like Jimmy Clausen was going to be the best player ever, and that didn't work out very well. But I also saw this from Kyper. When talking about Travis Hunter, I see elite quickness and ball skills on both sides of the ball, traits that helped him to 15 touchdown catches and 4 interceptions this season. The Browns would likely use him primarily at receiver and then sprinkle him in at cornerback in specific situations. I'm going to interject Kyper right there and go, I think the exact opposite. I believe that Hunter is going to be a corner that can be sprinkled into receiver at specific situations. And this is not me trying to be a hater. Let me just stick on this for a moment, Dylan. Learning an NFL playbook is not easy. Learning the offense and defensive playbook as a rookie is not easy. If you are in the NFL for the same team for 5-6 years, maybe then at that point you've kind of mastered the playbook enough with the same coach, the same coordinator, where, hey, we can toss you in on offense or defense for a specialty play. There are plenty of athletes who are probably capable of maybe going both ways at times, but it's not done because I just don't think someone can learn a very complex playbook. It's not complex in the sense of memorizing alone. There's a lot of complex things to it, like, hey, based on the defensive outlook we get, this is the route you're going to run. And that takes time and chemistry with your quarterback. And if you're not getting that chemistry in practice because you're playing DB, I don't expect you to get that chemistry in the game on Sunday when the quarterback thinks, hey, we only have a one high safety look and you're not getting a double team, so you're going to run a go route. But poor Travis Hunter doesn't know the quarterback's thinking that because the play called for him to run a curl route. But often we see players make mid-snap adjustments based on the defensive look. This to me does not seem like something that a rookie's going to pick up. So in college, it's a lot easier because the playbooks are so simpler. No college coach can throw an NFL playbook at you. The kids can't learn that. They're kids. They're in college. They're partying, and they have classes. They may not really do a whole lot of classes for a lot of them, but they do have classes. They have to dumb it down. No one's going to pick it up that well. It's a way different ball game in the NFL. So I think that we could see him sprinkled in, and I think the sprinkling would come in on offense. I think the sprinkle would come in an offense in situations like, hey, in the red zone. Hey, on 3rd and a mile with the game on the line, and we just need someone to run straight and high point the football and make a play. We're just going to play backyard football. Those are situations where specialty plays in the red zone, like I said, or 3rd and long, he can make a big play for you on offense. But I think he is better projected to be a corner in the NFL. We'll throw his stats on screen for you guys here. 15 touchdowns is nothing to sleep on. But let me ask you this question. If he was only going to play wide receiver, would he be a top 2 draft pick? I don't think Travis Hunter, the receiver, is better than Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas. I think if any of those guys were in this draft class, they would go before Travis Hunter, the wide receiver. But Travis Hunter, the do-it-all man, well, that's a different ballgame. But if he's not going to be a do-it-all player for you at the next level, and he's just going to play one side, is Travis Hunter the corner or the wide receiver, 2nd overall pick good? That's where I'm torn. I don't have the clear answer for you. And that's going to be a big question that someone has to answer. And the answer may very well be yes, because when you watch him play, the eye test tells you the guy is a football player. He's a phenomenal football player. He's one of a few non-quarterbacks to win the Heisman Trophy. Joining Devontae Smith, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush. And all these guys went on to have very successful NFL careers. So there's no reason to believe that Hunter can't join this list, but he's a unicorn. There's not this long history of guys playing both ways in the NFL in the modern era. There were back in the 20s and 30s when they were salesmen, and if they just hurt their knee, they were done for their career. But it's not that time and age anymore. So I wish I had the crystal ball to tell you it all. If I did, I'd tell Andrew Berry first, and I'd tell you. But if Travis Hunter was the pick, what would you grade it? A, B, C, D, or F? On one hand, you're getting a stud football player. But I think there are fair concerns to be had. And I wonder if he'll kind of be like a lot of other really good college players that's super good in college, but it just doesn't quite translate to the NFL because he's not stand out head and shoulders above everyone else at corner or receiver. And that's a subjective opinion that might be wrong, but that's my opinion right now. In case you want to know how the rest of the Kyper mock went, we'll kind of run through it together. At 3, the Giants end up getting the quarterback they were pursuing all along after beating the Colts in a meaningless game. Abdul Carter falls to the Patriots at 4. Mason Graham is a Jag at 5. The Raiders get T-Mac, the Arizona wideout. Michael Williams to the Jets. The Panthers take another Georgia Bulldog off the board. It's Jalen Walker, the linebacker. Will Johnson, who I'm really high on as a prospect, so if the Browns trade back, he's at the top of my wish list. Will Campbell goes to the Bears at 10, and then the Niners take Kelvin Banks. If you want the Browns to go out and get an offensive tackle, these are 2 of the top guys. I like Campbell over Banks, but I think Campbell might be a guard at the next level. Some teams get very picky about offensive line arm length, and he might have some short arms. Luther Burden, a yak monster yards after the catch, goes to Dallas to team up with CeeDee Lamb. Then we can get a little bit of a run here of more Georgia Bulldogs. Malachi Starks to the Dolphins. Tyler Warren to the Colts. It's a great pick for Indy. He just screams Indianapolis, does he not? Shamir Stewart to the Falcons. He's a really athletic player but lacks production. Tyler Booker, interior offensive lineman of the Cardinals. Jahad Campbell, he'll go and be whoever the new DC in Cincinnati is, his new linebacker. I got to get to know this Mizzou offensive lineman because his name's been flying up recently. The South Carolina safety, incredible size and speed and ball skills. If you want to sound smart in front of your friends, learn his name quickly. Ashton Genty to the Broncos at 20. Then you got Emeka Ibuka going from Columbus to Pittsburgh. The Steelers desperately need a wide receiver. I don't think they've taken a wide receiver in round 1 since, dare I say, Santonio Holmes? Colston Loveland to his old coach, Harbaugh, with the Chargers. Mike Green led the country in sacks last year for Marshall. Benjamin Morrison, Notre Dame. He'll go to the Vikings, who are going to lose all 3 corners to free agency potentially. Josh Simmons. I'm telling you guys, if you really want the Browns to take a tackle, I would look at him. He's going to be someone that falls because of his injury, but I'm willing to take a chance on him. A couple more offensive linemen that go. The Lions give Aiden Hutchinson a friend opposite of him, James Pierce out of Tennessee. And then the Commanders take Nick Scorton, who transferred from Purdue to A&M at pick 29. A sneaky good corner from Kentucky goes to the Bills. And then I really like Walter Nolan as a prospect. That might be their Chris Jones replacement if he leaves in like 2 to 3 years. And then finally, the Eagles select Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. So that is the rest of Kyper's mock. Let's pick a card and get you guys on out of here. I've got producer Dylan on the 1s and 2s. Dylan, which card do you want to select?
Well, I'm 0 for 2 right now.
Yeah, get in line, buddy. I'm like 0 for 1,000.
I'll go Jack of Clubs.
Jack of Clubs?
Ace of Hearts.
Ace of Hearts from Reed. I'm going to go 7 of Clubs. I don't think someone said this. 2 of Hearts. 2 of Hearts, I know. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you all later.